And in the streaming era, it has been commercial success has been interpreted in forms of numbers, in forms of how many of your songs have crossed billions of streams and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's inevitable. It is the era we find ourselves, and an artist numbers would also play a role when you discuss his greatness. When you discuss Wizkid and why he's arguably the greatest Afrobeat artist of all time, and also the greatest African pop star of all time, you discuss his numbers. He's the first artist to hit 1 billion streams. He's the first artist to hit 11 billion streams.
What was the most powerful, observation that you made while you were there, making this documentary right there in the East?
I would say it's the cultural identity and the spirits of hustle that is driving a generation. So, typically before, when an Igbo artist is beginning to get some motion,
yes,
they have there's no other choice than for you to come to Lagos.
Do you think they have the potentiality to grow as big a market as Lagos is?
I think it's going to take a very long time. We have to understand that Lagos has had, economically speaking, Lagos has had like a century-long head start over other parts of the country.
True.
In terms of entertainment, Lagos has had maybe a 40-year head start. Even musically, it's always been the center. Even when the old labels were around in the 70s and the 80s.
Real FatJoe coming out to say that Afrobeats was created by Jamaica. What is your take on that statement, first and foremost?
I think it's just the latest manifestation of how will I put it, the lack of education when it comes to the history of Afrobeat, and the desire that they want to keep talking about something they don't have much knowledge on. I mean, look at FatJoe. One of he's a great rapper.
He's a veteran.
He's a veteran.
Yes.
You expect that he educates himself on a particular subject matter if he wants to discuss that subject matter. But you say, Afrobeat comes from Jamaica, which is blatantly false.
Looking at the data of Afrobeats in 2025, that Afrobeat has slowed down a bit. How true is that?
Spotify came to Nigeria in 2022. If you look at between 2022 to 2024, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, there was a steady rise in the listenership growth in terms of monetization, in terms of revenue, in terms of royalty payouts.
In your view, do you think that the numbers are what makes a great artist?
If we go to the differentiation between great and successful,
yes,
it's very tricky because being great and being successful, your greatness and your success has to be defined by the era you operate in. This is the truth. If you look at the 2000s, the 90s, the 80s, a successful artist and a great artist, the record sales would be mentioned.
All right, that's Burna Boy right there with Way Too Big. And of course, you got to call him the African Giant for a reason. Big shout out to, Burna Boy, on that record right there. And of course, we're playing you all the hits in the city of Lagos. We are Hit Music for Lagos 102.3 Max FM. And yes, right now you're rocking with the best on your radio. Real Skills holding you down as always. And today, with me, I do have a special guest, who's in the building with me. It's not every time that you get the chance to, drag this man, out and bring him live on radio. I do have one of the most prominent, one of the most powerful music connoisseur, one of the most prominent Afrobeat and pop culture connoisseur in the studio with me. And of course, he's also one of the very, very popular music executives right here from Nigeria and Africa. I do have the pleasure of having Adebiyi in the studio with me today, man. How you doing, my brother? What's good? What's happening?
Very well, man. I'm so glad to be here. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute.
I mean, there was a time we used to do this every other week.
I swear.
But it's good to be back. It's good to be back, bro.
Man, I do miss those days.
Yeah, bro.
When I get the chance to have you on radio week in, week out, every weekend, we get to dissect, a lot of things.
I think we'll bring it back one of these days. No. I think I just came into your studio and I saw the aesthetics, how cool it is, how cool it is. I think I'm catching the radio fever. So I think you guys will need to hire me soon and put me next to you.
We got to do that. Matter of fact, we should actually start our own podcast.
Absolutely.
We should do that.
Absolutely. We need to. There's a lot to talk about musically,
yes.
in terms of pop culture, and also just give people the kind of conversation they need to have.
They need to hear.
It's not the noise, not the distraction. So absolutely. So I'm holding you to that. You're the one delaying us.
Lagos City.
Let me put it out on
net official.
So you're the one. I'm holding you to it. So yeah, let's get it done.
No, let's do it. And Lagos, you got to hear it first. Right here, that you got to watch out for that Adeayo, Adebiyi, and Real Skills, podcast.
Yes,
we'll let you guys know, the details of it.
Absolutely.
As we move forward. But I gotta say, congratulations to you. The rise of hip hop, in the East.
My
The
brother.
documentary, that you did in collaboration, with Spotify.
My brother.
That is one of the big conversations, right there as far as the music, our community, the music, music culture is concerned. Congratulations on that one.
Thank you, my brother. I really appreciate you. It's quite the pleasure. It was a huge experience for me. Seeing what's happening in the East, I've always been keen on it. I've always been interested in it. Want to know what's happening there. I've had the chance to interact with a couple of these rappers before and a couple of their executives there.
Yes.
Iblis.
Shout out
God bless
Iblis.
Iblis. Shout out Iblis
Yes,
is a
yes.
big brother. So when I always see him talk, he tell me, this is what's happening there. You should go there. You should see what's happening. So I developed that interest, and I wanted to go there to do it, to cover the landscape, to see what's happening there, the soundscape, the rappers, the producers, the OEPs, shaping the scene there. And I reached out to Spotify through my friend Melody Sound. Shout out Melody.
Shout out Melody, yeah.
And I thought, okay, this is what I want to do. I like Spotify to support them. Okay, why not? So shout out to Melody, shout out to Mitch, shout out to Victor, shout out to Mr. Oyemi. So they all came through, and we got it done. I went there. I spent like 3 days. My producer, so we went from Lagos.
Yeah,
Then
the Great Revolutionary.
yeah, the Great Revolutionary. Then I have another producer on ground there. Yeah, sound net, and we were able to put it together. We got the guys, the other rappers, from the top guys, to the emergent guys, to the underground guys, and we came together. We made it work, and it was really, really beautiful.
Man, what was the most powerful, observation that you made while you were there, making this documentary right there in the East?
I would say it's the cultural identity and the spirits of hustle that is driving a generation. So typically before, when an Igbo artist is beginning to get some motion,
Yes.
they have there's no other choice than for you to come to Lagos and for you to blow up in Lagos.
Yeah.
So you can have that economic means, you can reach a bigger audience, and you can make some money and scale. But now there are people who don't necessarily have to come to Lagos. They have built their own little ecosystem there, and it's working for them. The audience are there, the brands are coming there to support them.
Amazing.
They have the media behind them there, and while it's not as huge yet, why they're not able to really take it beyond there and take it across the country and internationally,
Yes.
they've been able to build a sustainable industry. And with time, with more support, with more DSP support,
Yes.
with more media support, with people like you, people like me, people like Spotify, supporting them,
Yes.
I think sooner or later it's going to become way bigger than this. So that's what I found most attractive there and most inspiring. That these guys, despite the odds,
Yes.
they've seen that, okay, we have an audience, we have the sound, we have the story to tell, and they keep going. Every other day there's a song dropping. Every other week there's an
Amazing.
album dropping. So
Amazing.
it's really beautiful.
Do you think they have the potentiality to grow as big a market as Lagos is?
I think it's going to take a very long time. We have to understand that Lagos has had, economically speaking, Lagos has had a century-long head start over other parts of the country.
True.
In terms of entertainment, Lagos has had maybe a 40-year head start. Even musically, it's always been the center. Even when the old labels were around in the 70s and the 80s, in the 90s before they left and came back again, Lagos has always been the center. So it's the economic hub. So it's going to be a bit difficult to catch up with Lagos. But what I would say is that they have the capacity to build something huge that can become an hub where they can now put out music and it gets every other place, and they can now attract, say, labels and major support from distribution companies,
Yes.
who can have licensing officers focusing on the Eastern market.
Oh,
The
amazing.
way labels in the UK and in the US, especially in the US, the major labels, they
Yes.
have subsidiaries, you have Interscope, you have Def Jam,
Yes.
who are focusing on different regions,
Regions.
hip hop regions, the
Yes.
southeast, the south coast, the east coast.
Yes.
So I think when the industry grows bigger and bigger, you see parts of Nigerian labels as well start having maybe a small decks that caters to that market and service that market
As
I
well.
think it's going to happen sooner or later if they keep going at the rate they're going.
Man, what would you say, in your observation, apart from the things that you've mentioned, what are some of the things that you think might hold that growth back? Talking about, the Eastern,
Yeah.
market when it comes to, hip hop in the East. What are some of the other things that you think might hold them back if they don't take those things into context?
Yeah, so I would not even limit it to hip hop alone. I would say in terms of music and
Music.
generally. So number one, I would say there's the economic factor. I think right now they're bootstrapping, they're trying their best. These guys are they're trying to find ways to make money. They're trapping, as I like to say. They're trapping and they're working hard and they're hustling and they're putting that money back in the music. But what they need is they need some equity. They need people within the region with means. When I went there, I told them, I said, see, come, you guys need people with means in this region to invest in you. To speak to the billionaires, speak to the people, the industrialists, speak to the rich people. Tell them, see, put some money, invest a couple billions in the entertainment space here, this is the potential for it to grow. So economically, if they are able to show that dedication to themselves, there's the idea that it has to come from Lagos. I was like, it can't come from Lagos because Lagos have enough talent in the pipeline already. And even if they are even leaving Lagos to go pick up pipeline, they are not leaving Lagos to go invest in an ecosystem somewhere else. They are leaving Lagos to go pick a talent from somewhere else and bring it to Lagos, bring that talent to Lagos and develop that talent. When Kikad went to Port Harcourt, they picked Omali, they brought him to Lagos, they developed him and blew him up. Yeah, they were not trying to go to Port Harcourt and create a mini industry in Port Harcourt.
In Port Harcourt.
Because that's a whole totally different thing. So you need capital to do that. So, and you need that cultural commitment to yourself as a tribe, as a region to get that done. So that's number one. Number two, sonically, there needs to be more diversity. Right now, that's not to say there's not diversity. There's diversity already. A lot of talented artists doing different stuff. There's Evado, there's Chu, there's Aista, a lot of different sounds. There's, Jerry Aguero, the leader of the genre, of course. But there needs to be more diversity. That it cannot be one dimension because right now it's more of drill being blended with Igbo language to make rap music. I think there needs to be more melodies to it, a bit more diversity to it. And also there needs to be more collaboration, more willingness to expand. They're already collaborating as a region, which is what is really helping them. Every other day, every other week, two rappers are coming together and making a sound, making a song, a joint project. I think they need to now expand it beyond the southeast and also reach out to other parts of the country, reach out to the guys in the southwest here and try to bring that sound together. Day Genius, shout out to Day Genius, the podcaster, the hip hop podcaster. He said
he's doing a lot for the hip hop culture.
He's doing a lot for the hip hop culture, a lot. So shout out to him. He said when we were having a conversation, he said it would be really great if you can get maybe someone like an Aguero Banks and someone like an Ayomaf and you put them together. And
make that would be sick.
Like it would be beautiful, right?
That would be amazing.
And you see, they've tried to do it. They've been doing it. Jerry has had songs with Bella Shmurda, with a lot of people and Peruzzi and Co.
But we need more of them to do that.
So we need more of them to do that. And across niches, if the guys that are emerging here, the guys that are shaking it on the ground here, the Zale returns and they're like collaborating across both markets at every cadre of the industry. The emerging artists, the thriving artists, the Billy's artists. At all levels they are collaborating across. They're reaching out. First Class from Abuja is doing something. The iStar from the east, that means the algorithm is just clashing. The Abuja and the northern algorithm is coming with the Enugu and the Anambra algorithm
as well.
Yeah, and if you have a Wizard Chan on it, if you had an Ajabosla on it, you bring in the South, if you have an Eriga on it, you bring in the Delta State. So everything is just clashing, and that's how you get to scale, you get to expand your listener base. So I'll say, of course, the economic factor and as well the sonic diversity, the collaboration as well.
Man, amazing stuff. The documentary is out, officially. It's been out for a minute.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's saying thank you to you, for spotlighting, for highlighting, for showing us what it is that we can see from the confines of our different regions. You went there and you exposed and shone the light on what is happening right there, and it's out everywhere right now. It's on YouTube.
Yes, on YouTube. Yes. On Pulse Nigeria 247 YouTube page. You can check it out there. It's 40 minutes long. There's a lot to enjoy from it. So we spoke to the rappers, we spoke to the producers, we spoke to the biggest OEP in the East, Max Swags, who is also a rapper. He has something called In the Yard where you go there. It's like something like an obese house, so to say, and it's really huge there. It's amazing. If you ever go to Enugu, you should absolutely.
I got to tap in with that.
You have to tap in with that. So it's really amazing. We went to the street. We spoke to the guys at a part of Enugu called Obiagu. I went to a university there, the IMT, Institution for Management and Technology, which is the school that Subaba finished from. Also finished from.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so you see that there's an hip hop culture there. There's just not a music culture. Look, there's an hip hop culture there. So like those guys, they breathe hip hop. They believe so much in the music because it tells the story. It's the hustle. So if you see the reality of Jerick, is not too different from the reality of a part 1 student at IMC because it's all about the hustle. Even the vulcanizer on the street, the mechanic, the woman selling corn. They
really rock with hip hop music.
I went to eat okpa and abacha, and they were playing hip hop.
Are you serious?
Like that also, and it's very cultural to the Igbos. The desire to build industry because wealth and industry is very respected. So it's on YouTube. You can check it out. I think you really like it. So
it's an amazing watch to see the culture, the people, the music, the ambience, everything that you merch in that documentary. I gotta say thank you to you.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you to Spotify as well for supporting this project and every other person on the team that made this a reality. Big thank you to them. the rise of hip hop
in the East.
You know, go search that on YouTube,
yeah.
and you will find, you know, that, you know, it is an amazing watch. You know, it's eye opening, it's interesting, it's fascinating,
Yeah.
it's informative, and of course, you know, the richness of the music merged with the culture, you know, will blow your mind. You know, but let's go for a short break. And when we come back, you know, there's no way I'm going to have you here in the studio with me, and we're not going to talk about some of the issues that is happening
in the
music industry. You know, not just here in Nigeria, in Africa, and all around the world. Afrobeats, you know, is also, you know, in the conversation of things right now. So, you know, I got to tap in one or two things, you know, from you, you know, before I let you go. I know you have a lot that you have to, you know, get
no,
to.
when I'm with you, I'm old. So yeah, let's chop it up.
Let's go. Let's, you know, go play some music right now. I still got, you know, Adeayo, Adebiyi, you know, right here in the studio with me. He's the editor-in-chief as well, in case you don't know, of Pulse NG. Yes, you know, and of course,
Thank you,
you know, I see, like, the portfolio is, you know, it's huge.
It's managing editor now. So
it's managing editor.
Yeah, we had
now.
like a bit of like a twist to it, you know.
Oh, okay.
We twist it up a bit.
Okay. All right, let's play some music, and when we come back in a bit, you know, we're going to, you know, continue this conversation, and you definitely want to stay tuned for some of the things that we're going to be talking about. We'll come back in a jiffy, y'all. That other record as well, you know, from Odumo, you know, the industry machine himself, Odumo the Black, will pay me, you know, amazing tunes back to back. And of course, two people who are repping the music, you know, really dopely. But right now, I still have, you know, my special guest, you know, my brother from another mother, you know, in the building with me. You know, Adebiyi is still right hand. Of course, I did say that there's no way that I can let you get out of here, you know, without us tapping into a couple of things that's happening, you know, in the music culture, you know, and the conversation around, you know, Afrobeats and music generally. And the first thing I want to ask you, you know, that I want to tap in with you first and foremost is FatJoe, you know, coming out. Like, let's talk about that for real. FatJoe coming out to say that Afrobeats was created by Jamaica. What is your take on that statement first and foremost?
I think it's just the latest manifestation of the, how will I put it, like the lack of education when it comes to the history of Afrobeat, and the desire that they want to keep talking about something they don't have much knowledge on. I mean, look at FatJoe, you know, one of like, I mean, he's a great rapper.
He's a veteran.
He's a veteran.
Yes.
You expect that he educates himself on a particular subject matter if he wants to discuss that subject matter. But you say, oh, Afrobeat comes from Jamaica, which is blatantly false. Afrobeat does have Jamaican elements and influences. One of the earliest influences of Afrobeat music is Jamaican music, dancehall, reggae. You always find it there, you know. From what we call, like, from the different iteration of Nigerian pop music, there've always been reggae and a bit of dancehall influences, you know, from the great Majek Foshek to Pretty and Junior to Daddy Shoki, Raskimono, down to Marvelous Benji, Downful Drivers, Pato Rankin, Ruga, Timaya. I mean, we've always had that dancehall and reggae influences, but that doesn't mean that is where Afrobeat started from. Afrobeat started from Nigeria and Ghana. Those are the two countries that created Afrobeat. So it's just a lack of education, and it's almost it feels like they want to keep misinforming the public, and that's why we always have to push back. It's tiring.
It is.
For people like you, for people like me, sometimes we get to the point where we'll be like, oh, we don't tire now. You know, they like enough is enough. You guys should stop. Like, me couldn't also having to nag. But what I've come to learn is that you can never stop pushing back at this false narrative, and you have to share the truth and let the truth stay side by side by what is false. Because at the end of the day, if enough people share their truth, whoever is researching in the future
would find more truthful information.
You get it, enough materials that points to the truth. Then you cannot aggregate them, and you can confirm what is false and what is true.
And if you ask me, I sense an intentional, you know, and this has always happened, you know, when you look at the dynamics of how the West always tries to, you know, say, you know, we're in control of things.
Yes. To shape the narrative
to shape narratives, you know, that is supposed to, you know, be a certain type of way, which is the truth, but then they shape it according to the way that it works a bit more to their favor. You know, so would you say, you know, this is also an intentional narrative, you know, to take the power dynamics away from Africans as the storytellers of, you know, of Afrobeats?
Yeah, I cannot like say it's not. I mean, I don't like to be the conspiracy theorists and say, oh, this and that, they're coming for us, but it's beginning to look like there's a consistent effort from the West, especially from people who want to be like, they want to be the mouthpiece of the culture. They want to educate an audience. People with a platform who are not trying hard enough to educate themselves. You know, because it's not the first time we've seen this false narrative of where Afrobeat originated from. There's a time they say Afrobeat originated from the UK. There's a time that one person said he blew up Afrobeat. We've seen different people take credit for what they've done for Afrobeat and try to blow it beyond proportion. You know, wrote to me, he said, oh, he made Afrobeat popular in the US.
When I heard that,
Akon had his own, like, all of you play different roles. I'm not going to diminish what Akon did for Afrobeat. When I interviewed Akon, I told him, I said, I don't think we give you enough credit for what you did for Nigerian and African pop music.
Amazing.
You've been a Senegalese American, and you, like, even embracing the African identity, and in your, even people know you're American, you still say, oh, I'm from Senegal. I think he did it. He did a lot for the image of an African on the global stage. And when he featured P Square on Chop My Money, and it just gives us a platform. Same thing when Snoop Dogg had a song with D'banj as well. But so everyone played a role, but you cannot now diminish the role of the progenitors themselves, of the people who shaped, you know, and made the genre what it is today. And I think there's people who want to tell the story, they try to like diminish what other people have done. And now we're seeing it at a cultural level where the effort of Nigerian as a culture, the effort of Ghanaians as a culture is being eroded. You know, the contribution of both countries has been eroded and it's been like swept under the carpet. And some people just sit down in their fancy studios in New York and in LA and in Atlanta and start talking about how Afrobeats started from Jamaica and Afrobeats started from the US and Afrobeats started from the UK. It's just not right. And I think that's why, I mean, we have to keep pushing back, because if you let these things fester, if you let it continue,
the lie becomes the truth.
It becomes the truth. And in 5 years, in 10 years, when you go on the internet and you search for when did Afrobeat started, who started Afrobeat, where did it start from,
you start seeing
Jamaica.
Because
you start
we
seeing
didn't push back enough.
You start seeing the UK, and it's why I say it, like, it feels like almost there's like a deliberate effort to not educate themselves. Is that this Buju Banton, whom like FatJoe was speaking to, you know, was guilty of in 2024 of saying Afrobeat is about nothing, Afrobeat lacks substance, Afrobeat sings about nothing, because he was erroneously juxtaposing it with Fela Kuti's Afrobeat, which was like a form of like a protest music, more of social conscious music, you know, compared to Afrobeats, which is a pop music, which is like just talks about the good time, fun, and everything. Even there's still other things you could talk about
as well.
Like the other subject, like Afrobeat is really diverse.
Yes.
So it's like comparing reggae to dancehall. Like Bob Marley's reggae is very different from what Buju Banton himself is singing, with the kind of, you know, the kind of like very lucid and very lewd and very provocative, you know, what we cannot even see on radio, kind of music that dancehall is. You can't compare with reggae. That's why you can't compare Afrobeat with Afrobeat. Like Fela Kuti's Afrobeat with what would make today Nigerian pop music Afrobeat. So and he says that, and he says that Afrobeat bites off dancehall, and we don't show enough respect to dancehall. You just feel like this sense of entitlement. They want to own Afrobeat story. They see a genre becoming very popular on the global stage,
being the biggest genre, you know, on the global scene right now.
It's been embraced beyond the shores of Africa, and even in places where you never like thought we would get to, in the Middle East, in Middle East, in India. Rema and CK, they did amazing stuff in the Middle East, in India, and you say this is amazing, this is going really big, and these people just come and they just be like, okay, how do we take over the narrative?
And it's crazy.
How do we look like we did it all?
It's ridiculous. When I you know, was talking about that on radio on Wednesday, my statement was very simple: FatJoe should shut up. If he doesn't know what he's talking about, he should educate himself. Just shut up. But let's talk about, you know, another thing that, you know, was was a big reveal this year, or supposedly a big reveal this year, and that was, you know, the data that came out that this year, you know, looking at the data of Afrobeats in 2025, that Afrobeats has slowed down a bit. How true is that?
You see, I mean, it's depending on where we look at it from. Is it from money? Is it from growth? So now this
monetary wise,
money-wise, growth-wise. So these are what people need to understand, right? When a market has to peak at some point. If you look at between 20, let's look at when the rise of Afrobeat started in the digital era, like the digital rise of Afrobeat as inspired by digital era. We'll say let's say from 2000. From 2020, and DSPs like Spotify came to Nigeria in 2022. If you look at between 2022 to 2024, like 2021, 2022, 2024, there was a steady rise in the listenership growth, in terms of monetization, in terms of revenue, in terms of royalty payouts, and in terms of the global percentage, like the growth, like globally, it continuously rise. But around 2024 2024, 2025, I think Afrobeat has reached a commercial peak, right? And now the growth has slowed down. It's not like it's not growing, but the market that can be marketed to has already been marketed to. The audience that can be reached has already been reached, right?
Yes.
So that's it. It's not like Afrobeat is dropping. It's more like Afrobeat has reached a peak and it's now going to find its level. It's now going to stabilize. Afrobeat has gone to Australia. You see Ruga touring all of Australia.
Yeah. Yes.
Just going to India. You see Joe Boy. You see O'Malley. You see these guys doing shows there, like Rema, CK doing shows there. He's going to Saudi Arabia. He's going to the Middle East. UK is already home to Afrobeat. We're already making a big impact in the US, in Europe as well. So it's reached like a lot of market that it hasn't reached in the last 10 years. And now it's stabilized. And also in terms of global adoption is already is peaked as well. You know, it's beginning. The only market that we're yet to fully enter, and I think we can record maybe a bit of more growth is in the Asian market. And that's when I mean Asia, I mean Southeast Asia. That's South Korea, Japan, China, Thailand, this kind of market.
Yes.
But every other market we've reached there with like the possible audience that Afrobeat can get. We've tapped into it, right? So what is left for Afrobeat is to grow locally. And that's where we're growing slowly. But even at that point, we're still growing.
And what is the problem? So that's another thing that I want us to, to also talk about, because we're growing in different parts of the world.
Yeah.
We're tapping into spaces, where, we never imagined that Afrobeat was going to get to in the first place. And it's happening. It's still happening right now. But then there's that issue of we're not building local structures right here. What is the major problem? What are the major problems?
Okay.
Why are we not growing, here in terms of like within Nigeria, in terms of the structure that we need to sustain Afrobeat for years to come?
So I would say it's likely economical. Likely economical. So it's not that we're not growing at the pace we should grow. For example, if there was the 2024 IFP report shows that more than in terms of the market that has that out of all African countries, Nigeria is the country where most of the local streams goes to the local artists. Like in terms of the largest percentage of music being consumed in Nigeria are Nigerian music.
Amazing.
So the local audience is growing, but what is not growing is monetization, because we don't pay enough to consume music in comparable to other parts of the world. Spotify, Apple Music, we pay Spotify 1,600, Apple Music I think 1,300, YouTube Music I think like 1,600. So compared to say a US, UK where there's $10, £10, 11 euros, it's really it's a pittance.
So you're saying we're limited by even the economic situation of Nigeria as a country.
Yes, it's the most limiting factor, because we're not able to put enough money in the pockets of the artists, right? And now when people come to invest, they have to take their money out. So now when a label from the US, from the UK, from Europe, they come to invest in Nigeria,
of course,
Nigerian artists, not even like the ecosystem per se, but Nigerian artists, and the artists get these streams and this sinking and this money comes in, the first thing that they have to ask is, where is this money going back to? This money is flowing back out. It's not staying here. If I had to, like in 2025, I don't know the figure right now, but I know Afrobeat artists got paid I think over 20 billion naira in terms of payout. Now out of that 20 billion naira, you have to ask yourself how much of that money remains at home
here in Nigeria.
How much of that money is reinvested into the ecosystem in forms of developing talent across different orbs, in terms of going to Kanu and trying to set up an ecosystem there, in terms of going to Jos, doing that,
in terms of expanding, like what we saw, in your documentary, happening in the East, with the hip hop, music and all the genres that they have in the East, expanding that, taking that resource and expanding that.
Yeah, you understand. So in terms of like, look at Dapper Music, for example, how many investors are coming and say, okay, let's look at what Dapper has done in the Southeast, especially with street pop music. Can we go do it in the North? Can we go do it in the South? This that kind of influx of funding and of investment is not coming in. People are making money, but they're taking back out. So there's that,
because they do have to make their money back.
They have to make their money back. So the money that Afrobeat is making is not staying within the Nigerian ecosystem, because the money is from like international investors. They're taking back their money, and the money that is coming back into the industry is not entirely being reinvested into like talent pipeline structures, because
infrastructure.
Like, the biggest artists, the biggest market shares goes to the biggest artists. Like if Afrobeat pays out 20 billion, like 95% of that money, goes to the pocket of like 50 artists.
True.
Like the 50 top artists.
True.
Like now those 50 top artists, most of them don't live in Nigeria. And when they come to Nigeria, they don't come here to try to like maybe necessarily invest.
And that I feel like that has to change.
They invest in the buy cars, they buy fancy houses, and they invest in other forms of businesses that can guarantee, like maybe not as volatile as music. So
are we saying that's one thing that Nigerian artists need to also change? Them also investing here in Nigeria, not just in the the flashy flashy lifestyle, but actually things that will actually also be a testament to future talent that will benefit new and future talents that are coming and say, you know what, we're able to have this platform because people like Burna Boy, Davido, Wizkid invested part of their money in structures and infrastructure that helps the music team to continue to thrive.
I think it's a bit tricky. At the end of the day, it's going to be, it's not something we can legislate as a people, or as like me and you can say, okay, Burna Boy, put your money into this thing.
True that.
It is his money.
True
he
that.
worked hard for his money, and he could choose to buy 200 million naira car if that is what he wants to do. You cannot, like, at the end of the day, it's his money. But yeah, of course, I think to some level, some of them are doing what they can do. They are floating labels.
Yes.
Like Badu is floating label. Burna Boy has a label, has a huge
shout out
entertainment
to Tiwa Savage as well with
entertainment
the,
company,
the Tiwa Savage Foundation in collaboration with Berkeley University as well.
University, College of Music.
Yes.
Then Burna Boy has what he's doing with Spaceship, he's investing in movies.
Okay.
He's also, I think he's trying to get like them to build like an auditorium for music performance in Nigeria. So at the end of the day, I don't think the money would come from the artists themselves. Here's what I think. I think the money would have to come from private equity. People with huge private equity. If you look at the American or the UK, or like, let's look at America, I don't think, or Canada, for example, I don't think the money to build the Canadian music industry has to come from Drake or Justin Bieber or The Weeknd. It's going to come from banks and hedge funds. But what is going to make the banks, the Dangotes, the Elumelus, the Otedolas, the banks,
is if they can see the ROI.
That's it. If they can see the return of investment, and if the ecosystem, like the Nigerian ecosystem, supports investment in that kind of investment. So you need policies, number one. You need policies that can guarantee safety of investment. You need structures, not just in terms of like building concert venues and stuff. You need structures in terms of collection agencies. Now we have issues with our collection agency, like who is going to collect royalties in Nigeria. The MCSNC, they are the one. Replies
saying there's a battle between both of them at the moment.
We need to clarify things like this. There needs to be sanity in the ecosystem, so they can now, like, private equity, like significant private equity can come in and can now, like, Dangote can say, okay, you know what, this is 5 billion naira, set up an industry that can service the Northwest, talent, music in Kano, in Kaduna, and stuff like that. They can do it, like, they can do things like they can put their money down for stuff like that. So where the artists will now come in is to show a bit of cultural commitment. They're not going to make enough money from it, but they're going to help to convince the private equity that is worth investing in. And this is what I mean. When Davido toured Nigeria, it's not because he's going to make a lot of money from it. He's going to make money to abroad, because at the end of the day, the going rate for tickets abroad is like times 10, times 50 what the going rate would be in Nigeria. If a concert was basically free, but the reason why the Oyo State government will step in and buy like 80% of the ticket is because it is Davido. It has to be an artist that the government can now say, okay, our people want to see this person, let's invest in this person. Banks are bringing money. When at Davido's show, banks are putting down money.
Yes.
Corporate brands are putting down money. It's because there's the star power, that cultural currency he brings to the table. That's what everybody needs to bring to the table. Tour the country, try to pick 10 states, go there. When you go there, when you do these things, the government can now, like, private equity now say, okay, if the Davido, the Burna Boy, the Wizkid, the Ruga, the big guys, if these guys are going on tour across the country, that means how can we tap into what they're doing? How can we expand our reach, our consumer base by tapping into these artists? And that's why they now invest in the ecosystem. So for the big brands to invest in the ecosystem, they need the big artists to show cultural commitment to the ecosystem.
Amazing.
And so that's where they need to come in.
Amazing. See, we can go on and on. I always got a million
that's how we
plus
start our podcast, right?
That's why there's too much to talk about. we got to do that. But on a final note, on a light note, before I let you go, live on air today. This is more like a sentimental question.
Okay, sir.
In your view, do you think that the numbers are what makes a great artist?
No.
What the things is that the numbers what makes an artist a great artist?
For going to differentiate between great and successful, it's very tricky, because being great and being successful, your greatness and your success has to be defined by the era you're operating. This is the truth. If you look at the 2000s, the 90s, the 80s, a successful artist and a good artist, the record sales would be mentioned.
True that.
It is inevitable.
True that.
It doesn't diminish your talents, like your artistry, your ability to make compelling music, but the records you move, the amount of people who brought out money to buy your CDs and your records are going to they're going to factor it into your greatness. So yes, of course, commercial success will be keyed into greatness, and in the streaming era, it has been commercial success has been interpreted in forms of numbers, in forms of how many of your songs have crossed billions of streams and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's inevitable. It is the era we find ourselves, and an artist numbers would also play a role when you discuss his greatness. When you discuss Wizkid and why he's arguably the greatest Afrobeat artist of all time, and also the greatest African pop star of all time, you discuss his numbers. He's the first artist to hit 1 billion streams. He's the first artist to hit 11 billion streams. You know, the numbers he commands. If you talk about Burna Boy, you talk about the sheer numbers of streams he's able to command as a lead artist, and also the sheer numbers of tickets he's able to move in the world, the way we've probably never seen any African artist in the history of African music move that kind of numbers in terms of selling out shows across different countries. The kind of capacity he's able to fill up by his sheer artistry alone. Now that's at the end of the day, it boils down to numbers as well. Ticket sales is numbers, streaming numbers is numbers. So it is just the game. It's the game of numbers. It's always been a game of numbers. I don't think it will change.
Man, I feel you on that one. And also let me ask you real quick. Do you think, because there's been a lot of this happening, in recent times, this whole battle culture, this whole beef culture in Nigerian hip hop that we're seeing. Of course, it happens in America as well. And interestingly, Jay-Z did say that he does not feel that beef advances hip hop music anymore.
Yeah, the way it used to.
Yeah. Now I want to get your own take. In Nigeria here, do you think what is your take on beef culture and it advancing hip hop music in Nigeria?
Hip hop or just like music generally?
Just hip hop music,
music. So it's not really done. Beef culture has not done much for hip hop in the last maybe 10 years. I mean, it's not very different from what it is globally as well. But let's say the US as well. But although we've seen that when Drake and Kendrick Lamar beefed, it had like a huge positive impact on Kendrick Lamar's career.
But does it advance, the music,
the culture itself?
The culture, exactly.
And that is where it doesn't, because in the US they're complaining that it's been almost more than 6 months since, or at least like 6 months since they had a top 10 hip hop song on the Billboard Hot 100. The last song to crack the top 10 was a Drake song. What did I miss? That's the song. And so even with the old Kendrick Lamar, Kendrick Lamar benefited from it. His career benefited from it. The ecosystem, hip hop as a movement, didn't benefit from it. Because back in the days where if Nas and Jay-Z are beefing, there's like a different entire coast that are beefing along with them. But now if OD and Black are doing this stuff, it's just the two of them. It doesn't translate into the ecosystem. Wow. So it's what it is.
Man, so much that we guys talk about.
Yes, sir.
And officially we're going to re-announce it today that you guys should watch out. The podcast is coming.
By God's grace,
it is coming. Adeayo has hanged me. He said you guys should hold me responsible if that podcast doesn't happen. Yes. So it's definitely coming. And of course, once again, congratulations on that amazing documentary. Guys, The Rise of Hip Hop in the East. By Adebiyi. It's out every on every not just every platform. It's specifically for YouTube. Are we gonna get it on Spotify, at some point as well? Maybe
it's audio, so I think maybe we can transcribe the audio and just upload it on Spotify.
So specifically, guys, just YouTube for now.
That's for now. You find it on Pulse Nigeria 247 page on YouTube. The Rise of Hip Hop in the East, directed by Adebiyi and supported by Spotify. So you guys should check it out. I think you'll really, really enjoy it.
Amazing. And of course, to follow you on social media, people that want to follow, you and everything that you talk about. You're one of the most polarizing voice, one of the most powerful voices.
I'll say powerful. I wouldn't say I'm not as polarizing as I used to be.
One of the most powerful voices in the music industry, not just here in Nigeria, in Africa, and of course, all around the world. So a lot of people, I've met people from Ireland, and we talk about you. I've met people from the US, and then your name pops up in conversations. So for a lot of people that want to follow you on Instagram, have you changed your Instagram, or is it?
No, my brother, it's still the same. So on my all social media platform, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, you follow me at Adeayo. Once you just search Adeayo, I think you easily find me. Adeayo_Adeayo. So
amazing. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, my brother.
Amazing conversation as always.
It's a pleasure, my brother. I appreciate it.